This is the eCollar Technologies ET300 Remote Dog Training Collar, also known as the Mini Educator. One of the most popular training collars out there, and for good reason. In this video, we're going to go over the basic functionality and how I set these collars up to work with my clients. So let's open it up. Inside, you're going to find the remote, the collar unit, the charger, a lanyard, and a couple little packs of accessories, which we'll go over in a few minutes here. Also, please note that under the tray is the manual. The manual is actually done really well. Nice large print, very easy to read, good little diagrams, not like some of the little fold-out origami instruction manuals that you see with some products. So really good job on the manual there. Makes it very clear to know how to use your collar. So first thing I want to do is to show you how to turn both the remote and the collar on and off. So there's a little bit of a unique feature in the collar itself. So we'll start with that one because I want to show you that you don't have to have the remote on to turn the collar on. The way that you're going to turn this collar on is by touching this little red dot to this little red dot on the collar unit. There's actually a magnet under the cover here that activates a switch inside the collar. So there's no actual physical button on this collar unit, which is nice because then there's nothing to accidentally turn it off if you touch it or the dog bumps into something. So you're going to see when I touch this red dot to this red dot, there's going to be a little green light come on. And that tells you that this collar is now on. And you'll see it blink every few seconds to let you know that it's on. In order to turn the remote on, I'm going to hold down the big button that says on off light right here in the middle. You'll see it say on and it pops right on. So now these are both on. What you'll notice is this also has a little blinking green light. The lights in this little LED panel and this one also are battery indicators. So if either one of these starts blinking amber or red, you know your battery's starting to get really low. My recommendation to clients is that they put these on the charger every night so that they're always maintaining their charge, because you just don't want to run out. And if you do it that way, you never actually have to turn these off. You just put them on the charger, and then when you pull them off the charger, you just make sure everything is turned on, and you'll never have to worry about if your battery is run down or low or anything like that. The only time I really recommend turning them off is to say you're going to go camping or hiking or something multiple days where you don't have a charger with you. Then I would turn these off manually, which is just the opposite way, like touch these together and then hold that button. When you hold the button, it'll say OF and it'll turn off. And then with the collar itself, you just touch these, you'll see it light up red, and now this is turned off as well. So really easy to turn on and off, really nice little setup there with the magnetic switch. So I'm going to pop these back on, and we're going to talk about how to actually set this collar up, or at least the way that I like to do it. You're going to notice on the remote here, there is both an M and a C. Okay? The M stands for momentary, the C stands for continuous. In this setup now, where you see the M and the C, what it tells you is that one button is momentary and one is continuous, but of the same level, okay, which is a number 5 in this case. These buttons that have the S's, those are the stim buttons, or the electrical stimulation. There is a third button on this side. It's denoted with a T, which is for tone, but it's also the vibrate. So you can actually switch between the two. It comes factory defaulted to the vibrate, so if I hit this right now, it vibrates the collar. The only reason you hear it like that is because it's touching the plastic. It's really not that loud if you do it in the air. So the first thing that I do with a client collar is I want to get it off of the M and the C. I don't need a collar or a remote that does momentary for me, meaning like if I hold it, it only does it, see how it does it for a split second, and then it goes right off and the red light goes right out. But if I hold the continuous one, it'll stay on as long as I hold it. Well, to me, that's a bit redundant. Why can't I just tap it like that if I need to? And the reason that I want to move it off of this setup is this collar, one of the best features about it is if I put it just on the C, it gives me the ability to have 2 different levels without ever changing the dial. So there's what we'll call a boost function. You'll see that in the manual, where I'm going to move it right now. I'm going to use this little button. I'm going to hold it down till it beeps. Just the M. I'm going to hold it down one more time. Just the C. So that's what I want to see, just the C. When I do that, I have now changed this from whatever I see on the screen is the black button. Okay, so when I hold it down, you see the red light come on, also on the collar. So it's a 5. But if I hit the red button, look what happens. It goes up. In this case to a 15, and I've already adjusted this a little bit, and that's why it's going to a 15 and not a 10. It actually factory defaults to +5. But what the boost feature does for you is it allows you to set a predetermined number in addition to what you see on the screen to come up when you hit the red button. So the usefulness of that would be when you're out in the field or you're out with your dog off lead or what have you. For their normal walking around level, they might feel a 5, no big deal. It gets their attention and it's great. But when they get super distracted or super excited or there's some competing motivator in the environment, I need to be able to go up a little bit in order to get their attention in the face of that distraction. And what this collar allows me to do is just simply kind of like playing a piano, right? It's like I just hit the other button, go from a 5 to a 15, as opposed to most collars where you hit that 5 and it's not enough. Then you have to dial it, get it to the right number, and then do it again. That takes a lot more time than it does just to hit that other button real quick. So it's a super nice feature. It's actually one of the main reasons I've gone to this collar is for that boost feature. The boost is adjustable. So I can adjust it from anywhere from a +1 to a +60 above whatever the number is on the screen. So I could actually have this go from a 5 to a 65. That doesn't ever happen. You don't need to boost that much, but usually a good 5, 10, 15, maybe even a 20 plus is very useful for most dogs. So you don't have to fiddle too much with the actual knob here, which is really nice. A couple other things about it once we get it set up like this where we have our boost feature. You'll notice right now I have it locked. And what locked means is you'll see that 1D right here is not blinking. And so that means even when I turn this knob, it does not change the level. That's a really nice feature if you just have it in your pocket or something like that and you don't want to have to worry about accidentally bumping it over a little bit. The collar does have 100 levels, so even just the tiniest little turn like that is going to go up several numbers. So the lock feature is really nice. In order to unlock or lock, what you're going to do is you're going to press down on the top of this cap and hold it. You're going to notice when I press down, the red light comes on. As soon as the red light goes out, you're going to see this number blink, or excuse me, the 1D blinking right there. That means it's unlocked. Now I can adjust the levels as high or low as I need. I'll tell you that for most dogs, I'm on a 5 to start with. It's a very low level. You should definitely feel it on yourself. Most people will not feel a 5, actually the majority of people. Most people won't feel it until it gets up somewhere around a 15 to 20, somewhere in that range. So a 5 is actually really low. It's a very fair level for the dog. It's simply an associative level where I want the dog to barely feel like something touching them so that I can associate a behavior with it. So it's a training collar in the sense that it gives you the ability to have a tactile or kinesthetic touch for the dog and then teach them what to do when they feel that touch. So we don't use these to blow up the dog or do giant corrections or punishments or anything like that. It can be used for that, especially if you're in a situation where there's something dangerous for the dog. But generally we're just using it for associating with a leash and then working towards our off-leash reliability. So if you see the 1D blinking, it means it's unlocked. It means you can adjust the levels, and then when you get it where you want, put it on that 5, hold that top down till the red light goes out. 1D no longer blinking, and now it's locked. And then if I turn the dial, it won't change it, okay? We're gonna go over in just a minute how to adjust the spread. It's also in the manual. There's a good little detailed kind of checklist of the steps you go through. There's quite a few steps, but it's easy enough to do. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's say I've worked with my dog, I've worked with my trainer. A 5 is a good just walking around level, no distractions, the dog feels it, no big deal. But then all of a sudden the dog sees a rabbit or a squirrel or what have you, or another dog, and their energy goes up, they're overshadowing or their tunnel vision kicks in, and the 5 is no longer anything that they even come close to noticing. I want to be able to hit that red button and go up immediately to a level that I know they'll feel in the face of that distraction. So it comes factory default for +5, meaning if I hit the black button, it's going to be a 5. If I hit the red button, it's going to be a 10. What I want to do then is adjust it for my dog and what works for that particular dog. And so the way that you're going to do that is first you're going to unlock the collar, because I need to put this on a 0. So I'm going to hold that top down till the red light goes out. I'm going to have it on a 0. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to hold down the little MC button. Now it says M and C. I'm going to do it one more time until I get just an M right there. So on 0, I have just the M. Next step is I'm going to hold the black button until a 1 pops up. Right there. That now is going to be my boost level. So I can adjust this again all the way from 1 to 60. Okay, and that's as high as it'll go. But that, remember, is the additional. So in this case, let's say I want 10 additional, which is what I had it set up a minute ago. I'm going to put on the 10. I'm then going to tap the black button one more time. It stops blinking. Now that is my boost level. So now I've got to go back. I'm going to hold this button down again till I get just the C. Remember, I always want to keep it on just the C. So, and then adjust this level to whatever my standard walking around level, which in this case is a 5. I'm going to lock it in again. Okay, and now I have a 5 and a 15. So I have that spread between the two, and again, you can adjust that as much or little as you need. I have some dogs. I had a dog I worked with today that was on a 4 and an 8. So you can set that spread for whatever works for your particular dog. Work with your trainer or professional to really be able to fine tune that and be able to really read your dog and see what they're responding to. We want to use the very smallest dose that's effective for a particular dog. Both of these are electrical, okay, so that's why it's an S is for stem. This is a vibrate, which we already looked at on the other side. Do understand that even though our kind of natural instinct would be to think a vibrate is kind of like a kinder, gentler stimulation, because we think of electrical as like a shock, but it's really not. The vibration is actually more intense right now than either one of these levels I have set up for most dogs. So the vibration really gets their attention. It really snaps them out of whatever little mentality they're in the moment. So I can actually use for most dogs the vibration as a correction. So if the dog is going to eat a piece of something off the ground I don't want them to have, or if they're sniffing in a trash can or whatever, I can use the vibrate to bump them out of it. So the way this collar is, we have actually 3 buttons. I have 3 separate levels: low, medium, and probably high on the vibrate for most dogs right now. You'll have to work with your dog to find out what they respond to with the vibrate, but really nice feature that have all 3 levels without ever having to turn this dial. And of course it's locked right now, so it won't even change off of that. But that's how I set this collar up for my clients. So if you need a little refresher on the setup, just take a look at this video and you'll be able to work through that on your own. So we've got the collar on, the remote on. The next thing I want to talk about is charging. Very simple. They did a great job with the charger. It's very sleek and streamlined. On the back of the remote, you got a flap. So you flip that up. And on the back of the collar, you have a little flap here. Okay, and your charger comes with this, just a very nice little tidy box and 2 little pigtails. One goes in here, like that, and one goes in this one. And then you plug it in. So you can always just leave this somewhere convenient for you, and every night just pop this thing on the charger. It's a smart charger, so it won't overcharge. And you can just leave it on there as long as you need. So that's that. It does also come with this lanyard, which I'm actually not a huge fan of. I'm going to show you in a minute a little holster that they make. It's called the Anywhere holster, or Anywhere clip, I think they call it, which I highly recommend getting if you can do it. But what happens with the lanyard is you end up putting it around your neck. Then the thing is dangling all over the place. And also, dogs are very perceptive, very smart. If they see you reaching for this thing on this lanyard every time you go to use it, they'll start to figure out that this is the master, if you want to call it that. I've had multiple clients come to me over the years and say that, you know, if their dog is doing something inside the house that they don't want, that all they have to do is like pick up a TV remote and the dog stops. Well, we actually don't want that, right? I don't want the dog to have any association with you or with this plastic electronic gadget being the thing that causes them to stop. I want them to internalize that. So I want this to be almost magic. So I'll keep it off to my side, even behind me a little bit or in a pocket, so that they don't have any association that this is the thing that is giving that stimulation to them. I want them to learn that it's just simply their behavior is causing this thing to happen. So anyway, well, while we're there, so the lanyard there, use or don't use, depending on you. I'm going to show you, this is the little anywhere clip. Okay, so what it is, it's a leather fob, actually 2 fobs that have this very strong magnets in them. And what you can do is you can put part of it inside your pocket and part of it on the outside, or inside your belt, or, you know, here in Boulder, there's a lot of yoga pants and athletic wear, and you don't have to have a pocket or a belt. You can put it inside and outside, and then your remote will have this metal disc. It comes in the little package here with a little screw and a little disc, and this just goes right on there, and then you can pull it off very easily and put it on. So this goes right on your belt or your waistline or in a jacket pocket on the inside and outside, and it's a really nice way to have this remote accessible and to come off really easily, and it basically works with any type of clothing that you're wearing. So I'm a big fan of this clip. I think they run maybe 25, 30 bucks, something like that, but to me it's well worth it if it's in your budget. So anyway, back to the collar. So having it on the C only, so that you have the ability to have that boost between the 2 buttons, making sure that everything's turned on, making sure you're charging it every night. And then the last little thing is to take a look at these little accessory packets here. Usually we don't even have to touch these. What you get is a couple of longer contact points, okay? So for dogs with extremely long coats, maybe even like a long-coated shepherd or something like that, sometimes you need something that'll get down through that fur a little bit better. And this is a little tool for the contact points to take them on and off. It's like a little hex wrench. And then this is a little tester, I guess you would call it. You put this over the contact points here, and then when you press the button, this will light up to show you that the collar's working. I really don't ever find that I'm using any of this stuff for the most part, so I just leave it in the box like that. The only other thing that I'd like to talk about is the actual collar strap. So this is just a regular, I think they call it a biothane collar. It's actually a really nice, durable, sturdy collar. There is an upgrade though that they offer, which I highly recommend, and it's called a bungee collar, okay? And you'll see that it's got stretch in it, okay? The reasoning for that is, I call it like a comfort collar. It just makes it a little nicer on a dog because you do need to have an electronic collar fairly snug. It's got to be pressing in a little bit into their neck area. And so this collar allows it to have that bit of give. The reasoning for the give, or one of the benefits of it, is that depending on the dog's physical position, the collar is going to loosen or tighten. So when a dog is sitting up, their neck is going to be its thickest because their head is pulled back slightly. When they stand up, their head is more in a neutral position, so the neck actually elongates a little bit and it gets a little bit smaller around. And then when a dog really sticks their nose out, they're excited for something, they're sniffing something, their neck stretches out and it actually gets smaller around. And so this collar helps you kind of adjust for that a little bit, right? So if you can get one of these, or if it's in the budget, I highly recommend doing it. They make a couple different sizes. They make some with a quick release. There's several different options for it, but it's a really nice little upgrade for your collar. I use it on all of mine. So all of mine that I use for my dogs and for training, I'll always put the bungee collars on them. One more little item that comes in here is this little tool. It's going to be in one of these little bags here, and that's simply for taking what they call the skin off. So I order all my collars from them with the black. The standard is the bright yellow. I think you'll see it on the side of the box here, like this yellow. But I prefer the black. I don't need something that's really standing out, especially here in Boulder. People can be a little self-conscious about, or actually not the self-conscious, other people can be a little self-righteous about negativity towards you using an electronic collar. So the black is a little more stealthy, I feel. But what this does is it allows you to, it's like a little key you put in, and you can pop this cover off, and you can order lots of different colors and even designs on these. You can actually get one that's like a Zen pattern and some other things. So it's a little tool just for taking that off, and that usually comes in this little pack here. But anyway, that's the ET300. Great collar, highly recommended. I use this almost exclusively. The only thing that I would use any other collar for is if someone had a dog that they also needed to be able to control barking with, and they didn't want to have a separate bark collar and an electronic collar. And so I would love to see e-collar technologies incorporate that into their collars, because there is another collar, the Garmin collar, that does that. It's not nearly as user-friendly as this, the Garmin one, but it does have a built-in bark collar along with the ability to use the manual electronic collar. But as far as the functionality with the boost and all the other features, this collar is my go-to right now. But anyway, I'd love to see them try to incorporate that bark function into it. Anyway, feel free to leave a comment down below with your experiences, any questions that you might have, and I'll try to answer those for you. But take a look at this. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on educatorcollars.com, which is a separate website from eCollar Technologies. But you can also go to the eCollars Technology website and get more information on this particular unit. All right, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.